If you're hunting for a workstation that won't make you second-guess every render, every simulation, or every big spreadsheet, you're probably looking for something that just works day in day out, reliable, low maintenance, and worth the cash you're putting down. The fear of splurging on a tower that looks impressive on paper but turns out to be a daily headache is real, especially when you're balancing client deadlines and a budget that can't absorb surprise repairs. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The HP Z2 G1i is positioned as a professional-grade desktop, and that label sets expectations. It's not a gaming rig dressed up with flashy lighting. It's a work-focused machine that aims to sit quietly in a studio, a lab, or a small office while you push through CAD models, video edits, or data-heavy analytics. From the specs you can see it packs an Intel Core Ultra 7 265 processor, 32 GB of RAM, a 1 TB SSD, and an NVIDIA GPU with 8 GB of VRAM. Those numbers sound solid, but the real question is how they translate when you actually open up After Effects, run a multi-node simulation, or compile a large codebase. Let's start with the everyday setup. The tower's footprint is modest for a workstation, so it slides under a standard desk without demanding a dedicated rack. The front panel gives you easy access to power, a USB-C port, and an audio jack handy when you need to plug in a headset for a quick call without reaching around the back. The rear side is where the connectivity lives, multiple USB-A ports, Ethernet, HDMI, and DisplayPort. In practice, this means you can hook up dual monitors, a network cable for stable large file transfers, and any peripheral you need without hunting for adapters. I've seen a number of pros set this up with a 27-inch color-accurate monitor and a calibrated drawing tablet, and the workflow feels seamless because the ports are right where you expect them. Now, about the performance you actually feel. The Core Ultra 7 is part of Intel's newer line that blends performance cores and efficiency cores, which is useful when you have a mix of heavy rendering tasks and lighter background apps. In real-world tests, users have reported that a 30-minute 4K video export finishes in roughly the same time as a high-end consumer laptop with a comparable price tag. But the HP Z2 does it while staying cool enough that you don't hear the fan ramp up like you would on a compact desktop. The 32 GB of RAM isn't just a number, it gives you headroom to keep multiple large files open, switch between Photoshop, Illustrator, and a 3D viewport without swapping to disk. The 1 TB SSD is fast enough that loading a 10 GB project file takes seconds, not minutes, which translates into real productivity gains. The NVIDIA GPU with 8 GB of VRAM is another practical win. For engineers running SolidWorks or architects using Revit, the extra VRAM helps when you're navigating complex assemblies or high-poly models. In video work, that GPU can accelerate effects and encoding in Premiere Pro, shaving minutes off render queues. However, the card isn't the newest generation, so if you're planning to dive into real-time ray tracing or the latest AI-driven plugins, you might hit a ceiling sooner than you'd like. It's a solid middle ground, strong enough for most professional workloads, but not a future-proof guarantee for bleeding-edge graphics research. One hidden trade-off that shows up after a few weeks of use is the upgrade path. The tower is built with a traditional internal layout, which makes swapping drives or adding a second GPU physically possible, but the internal space is tighter than a full-size workstation chassis. You'll need a bit of patience and the right tools to add a second SSD or a larger cooling solution. If you're comfortable opening a case and routing cables, that's fine. If you prefer a plug-and-play experience, you might find the upgrade process a little more involved than a pre-built mini PC that advertises tool-free expansion. Who should buy this machine? If you're a freelance designer, an engineer who runs simulations a few times a week, or a small creative team that needs a dependable desktop without the flash, the Z2 G1i hits the sweet spot. Its combination of CPU, RAM, and GPU handles most professional software comfortably, and the Windows 11 Pro environment adds business-oriented features like BitLocker and Remote Desktop, which can be a quiet productivity boost. The price point, while higher than a typical consumer tower, lines up with the value you get from a workstation-grade warranty and service options that HP offers to business customers. Who should skip it? If you're a gamer looking for the latest ray tracing performance, the GPU will feel dated. If your workflow is heavily AI-centric and relies on the newest CUDA cores or Tensor cores, you'll probably need a newer NVIDIA RTX series. Also, if you're a tight-budget student who can make do with a refurbished laptop or a modest desktop, the Z2's premium price may not justify the extra headroom you won't actually use. Finally, if you need a silent, fan-free environment, say, an audio editing suite where